Leila, and welcome to Comfort.ai, making artificial intelligence your comfort zone. In this episode of Ethics Talks, we are joined by my very good friend, Leila Etaati. Leila, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me here. It's great to be, and congratulations on the Comfort.ai.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So, Leila, I want to start with a little bit of background about you. So tell us what you do on a day-to-day basis, and then if you can also tell us where does AI fit into your world.
Sure. So I'm working in data. So start with a business intelligence. So I'm helping other people to create business intelligence with Microsoft tools, and I work with data. So my work is with data. So it's a start with a data, creating reports and visualization, and also data cleaning steps. And in the meanwhile, actually, after creating reports that is more descriptive analysis, we find that most of our customer really needs predictive analytics. So in that scenario, we find that AI is really, because we have data and people want to get idea about the data and what is happening in the future. So AI is actually have lots of kind of impact on our business.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. So you touched on a very interesting word, which is data. So tell us, how are the two different? Because normally people go, oh, data and AI. So how do you think they're different?
Oh yeah, you're right. People always mix these two words. So data collected from the devices that people have, from the applications that they run in the organization, and this data is actually, if you actually go through that, we get lots of really interesting insight about that data. But for the AI, or specifically machine learning, what we do, we're going to find a pattern in that data, and from that pattern we are going to see that, okay, this is the trend of the sales. So in the next future, how much sales you will have. So they are totally kind of different. We use data to create models in AI and machine learning.
Okay, no, that's great. Okay, so I now have my favorite question. So how do you think ethics plays a role in what you do on a day-to-day? Because you touch on data, which gives you insights. So all these words kind of bring in this ethical questions and aspects to it. So how do you kind of make sure that your world is ethical?
Yeah, that's kind of the really important point in our actually work, because people share their data with us, and the first things that come to mind is about their safety of the data. They make sure that we don't use the data to the other parties, so it kind of to be NDA, and how we can actually protect this data from disclosure. So how we can actually do that, and also after that is about that we creating the AI machine. So how we are not biased about that, about we just look at one portion of the data, and we didn't have a holistic view, so that make us biased. So we should be careful when we're creating kind of the AI or even simple descriptive analysis. We shouldn't be biased about that. So yeah, that's important.
That is very important, and I love you just using all these words that I'm like, idea. So when you talk to your customers, do you also guide them in terms of how to make this data more ethical? Do you provide that kind of guidance as well?
There is kind of we couldn't have a separate ethics for AI. We have a general ethics, but in some part of, for example, we sign an NDA agreement within them that we are not disclose that data. And also regarding the actually bias regarding the data, we really make sure in the agreement that we have a holistic view regarding the data. So we don't just look at one part of the data to become a bias creating AI. So this is not a separate agreement, but we try to some scenario. We kind of cover some parts.
I think that's actually really good to say that it is actually part of the main agreement. Like, we need to make sure that this is ethical. That's good. Have you ever come across any projects that have raised some red flags for you, that you were like, oh, this just doesn't sound right?
Oh yes, there are many, unfortunately, and this is why that many companies concerns about using AI, and you see many people concerns about disclosure of the data. So you in a daily basis, not in the business, in the personal app, you will see that they take a picture of the people and they're using for the others, and they said that this is just, for example, create a cartoons of your pictures, but no one knows that actually what happened to that data. So they didn't sign an agreement with the person. So the same scenario in the organizational level, sometimes you see that the data collected, but you don't know that how that data can be used, and there is no agreement. Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah, wow, interesting. So from your perspective, how do you think we can practically infuse ethics into anything data and AI related that we do?
So first of all, we need some people like you that actually teach people about ethics, because some people really don't know about the ethics, that how is that. So the first thing is about to teach them actually that how is ethics is that, and how they need that, the need for that one before implementing any AI system. I think that's the main things, and to make sure to understand each organization concern about AI things, and just going through that. So I think the first step before implementing any AI system is to search about what kind of the risk of the AI can bring to that organization.
Yeah, okay, that's good. So do your research, do your education upfront. Yeah, that's always what I say as well. The other thing that I wanted to touch on, Leila, with you, because you and I are both from, a different world, we're from Iran. What do you think this kind of different ethnic background or this cultural background, what role has that played for you when you look at, AI ethics or just ethics in general?
So I think ethics could be really inclusive. That means that considering different people coming from different background, and also, for example, if we're designing a system that is able to do something about facial recognition, it should be inclusive regarding gender, kind of different ethnicity, or even language. For example, someone like me that have accents, so that is speech AI.
Accent.
Thank you. So they should actually they should be responsive to that one. In case of the how from the coming from different culture and how we apply the AI, I should say that so this is kind of impacted by the culture. Some culture they respect more privacy, some a bit less, so that also should be considered.
That's a really good point. When it comes to privacy, you are right, it is different in different cultures as well. That's a really good point. I'm gonna ask you my favorite question. Do you know of any AI projects anywhere in the world that concern you?
Oh, that's a really hard one. To be honest, I'm really concerned about the most of the application that sometimes I also myself use. That's actually they get your personal picture and they're going to do something fun about them. I think that's a thing. So in Microsoft or some other Google, Amazon, if you're going to use this application, they sign agreement. But in some of these applications, they didn't sign any agreement, and you just worry about that what will happen to that pictures, and this can be misused. So I think most of them in Instagram or the other, there are some applications that's a bit tricky.
Yeah, true. So make sure that you are aware of the software and the basically some of the terms and conditions behind this software before you actually provide them your information. That is really good. This has been a very interesting talk. Here's my favorite question. Have I not asked you something that you wanted me to ask you?
So actually I start a course for women, and that's a kind of one of the reasons that we're doing that. We found that that actually we have few women in AI, and that's a kind of the issue. So that was the inspiration to have some actually course for a woman to work in AI, and this course can help women to at least is an entry point to AI. And the one of the things that I love about this course is actually include the responsible AI, and through that, and before people know the AI, they actually learn something about responsible AI, which is I think is a good one. I hope that we have it in other courses that generally talk about data. I think that's needed.
That is great. Is that a Microsoft course?
Yes, that's a Microsoft course.
Microsoft Fundamentals. Awesome. Thank you so much. If you have a link, please let me know, and I will include that in the bio, even though I don't know how often you're going to have them, but as often as you do, then I'll post them on my LinkedIn and my channels as well, in case you're interested. And the classes are in New Zealand. Are they online as well?
They are, for now it is on New Zealand, Auckland and Wellington are coming, but not online yet.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll get there soon. Thank you so much. Any last words?
Thanks so much for having me, and I really enjoyed the topics about ethics AI, and that actually I follow them, and even I'm using AI for a while, but I feel still learning about the ethics, and that is really fantastic.
Yeah,
thank you.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. And Leila was being very humble when she introduced herself. She's actually a Microsoft MVP in AI. She's the most valuable professional. We're so lucky to have had you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let me know if you have any questions, or let me know if you have any questions for Leila. And remember, technology can be fun, fashionable, and fabulous.